Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. Why are they closed on the day that I am even hungrier than Choji? He wondered. As he walked away he noticed out of the corner of his eye a certain kunoichi with a very large scroll on her back. He had also noticed her hair was woven into two round balls shaped like onigiri. Without a second thought he knew who the person was without missing a beat and called out to her. Hey Ten, he hollered at the top of his voice to get her to turn around. She turned around to see the blonde future Hokage running up to her at full speed. She had blushed heavy knowing the embarrassment that would come if he saw her blushing. She turned around and started to run away from him. Oh no. If he sees me like this I don't know what will happen to me, she said as she ran away to get as far away from him as possible. Seeing her run from him only made the blonde more ambitious about catching up to her. He ran after her with his pride as a ninja on the line. All across the village he ran after her and she avoided him using whatever weapons or traps to throw him off but to no avail. Man, he is persistent today. Why can't I outrun him? She wondered, trying not to let the boy of her desire see the intense blushes she had on her face. After an hour of sheer running, Tenten started to slow up from exhaustion. She hid behind a tree in the training grounds. Please don't find me, please don't find me, please don't find me. She thought as she saw him arrive at the grounds. She hid well, but when she turned around she noticed the blonde right next to her breathing very hard. She turned to see a shadow clone he had placed well into the run to confuse her. Finally, he said, gasping for air. Finally caught you, he said in one loud breath. She felt his breath on her face and if not for the running her cheeks would have been blushing much harder. Hey Naruto, how are you doing? She said, trying to turn her head away from him. He had noticed her action and sat down next to her. Nothing, everything is good, he had said, though a question popped into his head. Why did you run away from me though? He asked, causing Tenten to blush much more and nearly faint. He placed his hand on her head, feeling concerned. Hey, are you alright? You look a little red, he said, making the brunette look him in the eye with a feeling of seriousness. She had kept her feelings for him hidden and thought she could just ignore them. She looked at his physique and blushed more, seeing his well-toned body and the muscles on his arms, knowing about his training with everyone's absence. She had noticed these feelings after the Chunin exams took place. She stared in awe as she watched Naruto beat the second best genin in the leaf, Neji. Trying to pass off the feelings as simple admiration, she tried to forget it, but his exploits in missions had made the old feelings resurface as she had come to know how much she loved him. Seeing her in a daze, Naruto decided to snap her out of her thinking. Hello, Earth to Tenten, are you still with us? He said, making her snap out of her daze. Oh, sorry Naruto, I was in some deep thought, she answered, trying to calm her heart as it was about to come out of her chest. That's okay. Just wanted to make sure you were okay, he said as he had noticed something different about her. He noticed she looked more beautiful in her ninja outfit. His heart went racing at the thought of her being so cute that he hadn't noticed it before. Man, I never realized how hot she actually is, he said, thinking to himself. As far as he had known, she was a good friend and a great comrade. She was one of his precious friends, but seeing her had made him turn her into something different, something more, something he wanted to have, to hold on to share his worries and joys with, to protect with his very life. Seeing her there sitting on the tree in the cool breeze made him say the last thing that neither he nor she could have seen coming. You are so beautiful, Tenten, he said with his voice low and appealing. She was almost shocked at his statement, thinking it was a dream that she didn't want to wake up from. She felt her heart and cheeks blush and beat so much that she thought he was hearing them. She knew she wanted to be with him. She wanted to know everything about him and tell him everything about her, to be his forever and ever, to know how much love she had kept in her heart for him. With blushing face she turned to him. "DDD, do you really think so?" she asked, uncertain of his answer. "Yes, you are. I have wanted you in my arms, never leaving my side," he said, sending tears down her face. These tears were the tears of a miracle or hope that she thought was impossible to obtain. Turning to him with tears still down her eyes. "I love you, Naruto-kun, with all my heart," she said next to him, unable to contain the urge to hide her face. Seeing her cover her face, he moved closer to her, touching her hands and removed them, showing her face. With her face exposed, he moved closer to her, staring into her eyes that seemed to set his heart ablaze. She looked into his blue as the sky eyes with tears in her eyes and a blush as red as a rose. His lips moved closer to hers as they stared at each other. She felt something incredible on her lips, something she had wanted for a very long time, to have his lips on hers as he swung his arms around her, holding her tightly in his arms. She felt the strong embrace of his lips and his arms on her as she put her hands on his face, keeping them both together. His tongue had moved into her mouth as it found its way to its partner. Sharing a greeting, they interacted with each other, keeping each other's company. They both drew apart for air, leaving their mouths to say a temporary goodbye to each other. He faced her with a wide grin that she knew all too well. She knew what was coming but still wanted to hear his words. "I love you too, Ten-chan, I will not let you go, for you are my most precious person," he said, causing her to melt in his arms. She had waited her whole life to hear those words. Now she turned to him with her eyes traced by his cerulean eyes. "Naruto-kun, she was see you off by him," with a finger to her mouth. He turned to her with the question of a lifetime. "Ten-chan, will you be my girlfriend and go out with me?" he asked, causing her to place her hands over her mouth with a gasp, and answered with tears in her eyes again. "Yes, Naruto-kun, I will be your girlfriend, I love you so much," she said, staring at him. He placed high hands on hers and stood up with her. He answered with a happy and calm smile. "I love you so much, Ten-chan, my heart is yours to take," he said. He continued with his next question to her as she stared, wondering what this question was. "Ten-chan, I have saved up a lot of money from my payment on mission. I would like to treat you to a fancy restaurant in Konoha as our first date, may I?" he asked. Seeing the look in his eyes, Tenten knew that he was a keeper and he was hers. She answered with a wide smile that lit up his day. "Yes, of course, Naruto-kun, when will we go?" she asked. "Tomorrow night," he responded. "All right, my love, I will go home and check for a proper dress," she said as she left him with a thrill of excitement in her voice. "All right, my hun, I will go and get my suit also," he answered. Going back to his house, a certain blonde was thinking about what to wear for a certain brunette Kunoichi and their date. He knew that today he was going to make her happy with what he had planned at night for them. He had set the date for 10 o'clock p.m. He wondered what she would be wearing for their date as he came up to his house. "Finally home," he said, putting away all of his ninja tools and scrolls with a grin on his face. Ever since yesterday he could not get Tenten out of his mind. He felt how lucky he was to have such a woman all to himself, to hold her in his arms, to kiss the soft lips she had, to know that she had returned the same affection for him as he did her. He went to his closet looking for a suit when after all the searching couldn't find one that would feel great to wear. "Man, what am I going to do? Our date is in 4 hours and I don't have a good suit to wear," he said, pacing the floor. He wanted this first date to off well for them both. He checked his wallet and counted how much money he was able to muster up. Let's see, 1.23, 2,000 yen, he said to himself. He knew what he had to do for his date. He would been nearly empty for this stunt, but for her no price was too expensive. He closed the closet door and put on his orange jumpsuit and ran out the door. Jumping from rooftop to rooftop, he was attempting to go to the shop to buy a black leather suit for his date. After 45 minutes of running, he appeared before the shop and went in. "Hello, is anybody here?" he asked, waiting for a reply. After 5 minutes, an old man appeared out of the back room and walked towards the enthusiastic blonde genin. "Hello, sir. How may I help you on this fine day?" the old man asked. Naruto looked around the store at the many different suits they had on clearance. He turned to the old man. "Hello, sir. I am here to buy a suit for my date with my girlfriend," said the blonde genin. The old man was surprised and happy that the youth of the village could still find love in a world of chaos. "Oh my sir, please let me show you around my fabulous shop," said the old man. He took Naruto around the shop, showing him the different types of suits that would be perfect for a date. Naruto was pressured into seeing all of them. He knew though that none of these suits was a good match for him. He turned to see a leather suit with complete white shirt and black tie and black pants in his size. He stared in wonder of the suit. He wondered how much it had costed. "Excuse me, sir, but how much is this suit for?" Naruto asked, pointing at the leather suit. The old man lifted his head at the suit. Clearly the blonde had good fashion sense to choose their most expensive suit. This suit was brand new to the shop and had the perfect feeling of elegance that the blonde wanted. "Why, sir, you have good taste. This suit cost around 7,000 yen, the old man said. Naruto's jaw dropped to the ground. He didn't have that kind of money on him right now. He knew he was running out of time and looked at his watch. He had exactly 2 hours left until his date with his brunette Kunoichi. Sensing the boy's depression, the old man had taken pity on him and offered a suggestion. "Sir, if I may say, I can tell that you want this date to go well, do you not?" asked the old man. Naruto nodded, trying to see where the old man was going with his statement. "Sir, because you seem to understand the importance here, I will give you the suit for 1,000 yen, said the old man. Naruto nearly fainted. He couldn't believe that this old man could be so generous to him for his date. He knew with the old price the date would not have gone very well as he would have liked. "Old man, you would really give me this suit for such a cheap price?" asked Naruto, looking like it was too good to be true. The old man turned to him with a happy grin on his face. "Maybe it's my age, or maybe I am for love, hee," laughed the old man. Naruto accepted the offer with full thanks for the suit. The owner took the suit and packaged it. He gave it to Naruto, who had the biggest grin of appreciation for the old man. As Naruto he ran out the shop with a smiling old man at the register. "Have a very good date, young man," said the old man. Naruto was moving at high speed to get home and get changed for his date. Having been serious for his date, he managed to get home in 25 minutes. He took off his jumpsuit and regular clothes and changed into his new suit. As he put it on, he felt the leather on his skin as it shimmered down to his legs. "I have never felt such good leather in my life," said the future Hokage with a big grin. Having put the finishing touches on his suit, adding cufflinks to his white shirt and putting on his black shoes, he raced out the door. He looked at his watch and realized he had 17 minutes to get to the restaurant. "Man, I have to make it, I just have to make it," he said in the hurry of his life. He appeared at the restaurant with a bouquet of roses for Tenten. After 11 minutes, he was getting worried that she hadn't gotten to the restaurant yet. After 30 minutes, he was about to give up and go home. Hee, I guess this was to be expected. Tenten wouldn't want to date a demon like me, he said with a hint of sadness in his voice. Then out of the corner of his eye he saw a girl in a white dress with a flower design on it. It was as white as snow and came down to the girl's knees. Her hair had the same round balls as always. His expression had changed from one of sadness to one of extreme joy and happiness. Ten-chan, over here, he yelled over to her. She noticed the blonde genin in the most fabulous leather suit that she had ever seen. She wondered if this was the same blonde genin she had fallen in love with yesterday. Seeing the whiskers on his cheek, she knew he was the man from yesterday, the man of her dreams. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto-kun, what happened to you? She asked with a big grin and blushed at the sight of suit hugging his body, showing of how well-toned it was. Tenten stared at him with a look of sheer desire and awe. She knew he was hers and that the lovely guy in that suit was the man of her dreams. Naruto-kun, sorry for being late, my dress took longer to find than I had hoped, she said to him. Knowing he couldn't be made at her no matter the reason, mainly because he was worried about his time too. It's okay, Ten-chan, you don't have to apologize, he said with words of comfort. He was just happy that she had not ditched him because of him being called a demon. He had trusted his heart to her and hers to him. They both knew they would be together and that the other looked pretty damn fine. Her dress sent his heart to a world of peace that he didn't know existed. Seeing her with that dress made his love for her unbearable. Ten-chan, he said, leaning his lips closer to hers as they came into a deep embrace in front of the restaurant. They both didn't know but they were attracting a rather large crowd of people, citizens and ninja alike. Everyone was awwing and oohing at them with great intensity. Separating from each other for air, they witnessed the crowd of people and blushed, thinking that they had been seen. Not wanting to wait another second, they went into the restaurant to begin their date. As they seated, they had discussed their daily lives and future dreams. Both realized they had much more in common than they thought. Tenten found out that Naruto was also a big weapons fan and have a massive collection also, though he didn't brag about it. Naruto on the other had learned that Tenten also liked the ramen at Ichiraku. Tenten had wondered though about the restaurant. Hey Naruto-kun, how did you manage to get into such a fancy place, she wondered. With a smile on his face, he told the story of how the owner had made a mission request for food supplies from the adjacent villages. He explained how he was chosen by the Godime for the mission. After he had secured the necessary supplies for the owner, he returned and the owner allowed him 5 visits to his restaurant with all the food being at half price. Tenten was shocked to learn this. Her boyfriend had gotten her into one of the most expensive restaurants in Konoha. She realized she was so very lucky to have him. After their meal, Naruto had paid for the food and escorted Tenten out. I had a very nice time, Naruto-kun, she said, causing him to blush. I aim to please my most precious person, he said with a voice that just made her melt into his arms like before. After the meal, they had returned to the training grounds, to the place where he asked her that question. She looked up and into his eyes. She had noticed how the moon had brought out his cerulean eyes, making them seem so majestic and trancing. As if like she was compelled to, she kissed him with all her might, trying to enter his mouth with her forcefulness. Naruto had little time to prepare for the kiss, but he had adapted to the situation and wrapped his strong arms around her, kissing her back with equal intensity. His tongue had met hers again as the last time. They exchange a warm greeting, hugging each other, but at the same time trying to overpower the other for dominance. Breaking away for a gasp of air, their mouth had left each other with a blissfully goodbye. As she looked into his eyes, she had become mesmerized again. Seeing those eyes as if they could peer into her very soul. He broke the silence, startling her. So Kanojo, how did you enjoy our date? He said seductively. Her heart had started racing again and blushes more intense than the last time. She had trouble speak with him looking as majestic as he did in the moonlight, but she was able to talk. My Koibito, it was the best date I ever had. I would not trade this day for anything in the world, she said with a hot blushing face. Both felt that time had stopped for them both, not that they minded. They wanted this moment to last forever. As they broke apart, he gave her one last passionate kiss before he left. It was a hot day in Konoha as a certain blonde genin and brunette genin were walking down the road with her arm over his. They were enjoying the scenery and peace of the village, despite the stares they were getting from the ninja and citizens of Konoha. Being the latest couple on the streets got both of them a lot of attention. "Man, I feels weird have all these people staring at us," Naruto whispered to his newly appointed girlfriend. She felt the same way he did, but being with him made her relax on his arm as they continued their joyous stroll through the village. She looked at him and stared at his wonderful face. That face that she loved with all her heart, those lips that were only hers to touch, and his heart that he had entrusted to her. She blushed heavily thinking about the day that he had asked her to be his girlfriend. "It's been 3 days since you asked me to be your girlfriend, hasn't it?" She asked, causing the blonde genin to shift his gaze from the road onto her. With that intense look on his face, she couldn't help but blush even more when he responded. "Yep, it has. I am so happy to have you by me, Ten-chan," he said, knowing she would almost form tears in her eyes from the comment. The two genin continued their walk as they had come down to the village gate. They were still attracting a large amount of attention from the villagers. Everyone was whispering about how lucky the blonde was to have a girlfriend. Even most of the genin boys left in the village were showing intense signs of jealousy about the blonde taking the brunette weapons expert. They were still remembering those 2 days ago that they started dating. Tenten turned red every time she remembered his confession, the confession that she had wanted the whole time, but thought was impossible to get, yet here she was, holding Naruto's arm and already having a date with him. She loved these times with him, knowing they wouldn't last long. "You know, Naruto-kun, today is the day," she said with a blush, causing him to stare at her. He knew what she was talking about. Their friends who had been on their missions were returning home today. They both did not know what to expect from their friends. With a hint of nervousness, Naruto tried to talk. "Why, yeah, it is, isn't it? I wonder how everyone will react, especially our own squads," he asked, trying not to show his nervousness to no avail. Tenten had noticed how nervous he was. In truth, she was nervous too. She had to do something to get them both to calm down a bit. "Naruto-kun, let's take a detour, okay, for a bit," she said. The future Hokage nodded as they went to a secluded spot, away from the eyes of the public. They both leaned against a tree, calming their beating hearts. Over a few minutes their hearts had calmed down from them looking into the sky, wondering about the other. Looking to her left at her blonde boyfriend, the brunette leaned over to him. He was still thinking when he felt something on top of his lips. He could feel the wonderful embrace of his Kanojo's lips on his. He wasted no time returning her affections with his tongue when embracing hers again, both yearning for each other with full force. He could feel her heart beating on top of his as their kiss had turned into a very deep embrace of their lips. Not wanting to tear apart from each other, the blonde wrapped his strong arms around her body, bringing her in closer than she had expected. She was entranced by his strong arms and powerful lips that seemed to overpower hers. She put her hands on his face, trying to bring control of the kiss back to her side, but to no avail could she. His big arms that she loved so much were the one thing that probably kept her from winning. She knew her legs were getting numb from the power of his kiss. The feeling was like going to her knees, causing them to go numb. After 10 minutes of that passionate kiss, they separated from each other for a good amount of oxygen. Both were sweating intensely from their passionate moment, looking into each other's eyes. Naruto broke the gaze to look at his watch. He saw that their friends would be here in a few minutes from their mission in Cloud Country. "Hey Ten-chan, we better go, Our friends will be here soon, he said, panting from the lasting pleasure from their kiss. Realizing he was right, she nodded. Why, you're right, Naruto-kun. We had better go. Can't wait to see them, she said with a panting voice matching his, remembering the pleasure that nearly made her heart burst. Okay, let's go back to the village gate, Naruto suggested. Tenten nodded in agreement as they got up to leave. They had arrived at the village gate mere minutes upon seeing shadows coming from the far distance. Here they come, Ten-chan, he said with a bit of nervousness. Why, yeah, let's be prepared, Naruto-kun, she said with equal nervousness, holding her lover hand. As the shadows came closer into view, they had begun to recognize the people coming. One person had a long ponytail with purple shirt and purple shorts, another came glass and trench coat hiding his mouth, another person appeared with a dog on his head, he wore gray hoodie and black shorts, another came wearing an all-green jumpsuit from his sensei, another with pink hair and a pink kunoichi dress covering most of her body. All the genin had appeared one by one along with their senseis, who were overjoyed to be home. Upon seeing two of their friends, everyone waved until they spotted them holding hands. All the genin ran with full force up to the two lovers. Having arrived in about 2 minutes, everyone was dumbfounded at the sight they were seeing, most were silent. One person broke the silence. Wow, when did my youthful friends start acting like this? Huh, said the overly eccentric green beast of Konoha. Tenten rolled her eyes as Naruto just had a big grin on his face. Everyone was waiting for an answer from the new couple. About 3 days ago, the blonde responded. Everyone could barely form a sentence. Everyone had questions but couldn't bring their mouths to ask them. After 30 seconds of silence, someone else talked. Yahoo! Alright, Naruto, that's my boy, shouted Kiba with a thumbs up. Hee, thank you, Kiba, Naruto said, still holding Tenten's hand. She was blushing from all the attention they were receiving. She would have gladly faced the villagers than their friends. Someone turned to Tenten. It was her former love that she had been with for a good few months. So Tenten, I see you have been busy in our absence, said the now third strongest genin, Neji. That's right. Naruto-kun is my love, she said with a blush. Everyone was taken back by those words. Naruto-kun, everyone responded. Taken back by their response, the lovers stepped back. Yeah, Ten-chan is mine, he said, causing more of an uproar. Ten-chan, everyone responded again. After everyone quieted down, another of the group spoke. Well, I am happy for Naruto and Tenten, said the shy Hyuga. She was hiding the fact that she was a little sad. She had loved Naruto-kun also, but she knew now that he was out of her reach. She happily offered him happiness with his new girlfriend. Everyone calmed down after the Hyuga spoke. Well, Naruto, how far did you get in those 3 days? Said a more that curious flower expert. Both genin blushed intensely at the question. They hadn't gone to anything other than passionate kissing, but they had always wondered about it. Another genin spoke, looking at Ino. Man, Ino, you're so troublesome, what kind of question is that? Said the lazy genius. He was taken back by the sight too, but recovered much faster than everyone else. Another genin had responded, assisting Shikamaru. He's right, Ino, you shouldn't ask personal questions like that, said the chubby genin, munching on some potato chips. Appearing out of nowhere, the sensei had caught up to the genin. Wow, that's the spirit of youth. Nice job, Naruto, Tenten, said the eternal rival of Kakashi. The genin blushed again, saying their thanks. The other sensei came into the conversation too. So Naruto is a big boy now, said Kakashi with an Ika book in his hands. Well, Naruto, Tenten, I never expected this from you too, said the Genjutsu master, Kurenai. They have reached that all-important stage in life after all, haha, said the sensei, who had a cigarette in his mouth. With everyone's comments, the couple was so happy they got into their relationship. They had the urge to kiss to give a show and did giving each other a big kiss. Wow, oh my, are they really? How troublesome, Yahoo Go Naruto, shouted various comments from the group of genin. Deciding to leave the new couple alone, the sensei had faced their genin. Okay everyone, let's let the new couple alone, we must report our mission, said the sensei. The genin complied and ran off to the Hokage Tower to finish their mission and come back to the couple later. Everyone left except one genin. Naruto, Tenten, I hope the both of you will be very happy together, said the pink kunoichi. Giving her their thanks, she ran off to join the group. Well, that wasn't so bad, was it, Ten-chan, said the blonde genin. No, Naruto-kun, I guess not, said the brunette. Looking into each other's eyes, they held a deep passionate kiss into each other's lips. Coming apart, they had decided to take a mission themselves. Well, Kanojo, shall we request a mission tomorrow, said Naruto. Looking at him with a smile on her face, she had responded. Yan, a good day for a mission, the blonde genin said with a big grin. He wasn't grinning from the thought of going on a mission, he was grinning because of the person going with him. His beloved brunette kunoichi had agreed with him to go on a mission today. Happily getting up to get dressed, he rushed to get on his orange jumpsuit. Okay, everything is in place, nothing is missing, Yosha, let's go, he said, running out the door. With a few of the villagers saying their hellos to him, he ran to the Hokage mansion. He was at the entrance greeted by two of the guardian ninjas. They looked at him with big smile on their faces. Knowing what they were thinking, he shot them a nod of agreement and ran upstairs to meet the fifth Hokage about a mission. Good morning, Tsunade Ba-chan, Naruto said, coming in quietly as not to disturb her work. He remembered the last time he ran into her office yelling with a big grin on his face. The fifth had a terrible headache that day, and wanting silence, she shot Naruto out of the mansion and into the training fields. It took him about 5 weeks to recover from the attack, even with the Kyuubi's help. So as not to come to that same outcome again, he had been more cautious. Oh hello Naruto, good morning to you, Tsunade said with a big grin, happy that he had come in quietly, knowing his lesson from the last time. She had known about her grandson's little exploit in the village and could only laugh when she heard the news. Glad that he had found someone with whom he could be happy, she continued the conversation. So what brings the lover of Tenten here, she said with a big grin. Naruto now knew that she had known about them for a while. He had not tried to keep it a secret, but he thought at least he would be able to tell her. He was a little disappointed to find out that she already knew. Instead of asking how she knew, he stared at her only to see that she had given him her blessing. He had tried to hide the blush after her snarky comment, but she had long since noticed it. Not intending to take any more of her time, he got straight to the point. So Ba-chan, where is Tenten? She said we would go on a mission later today, he said with a look of confusion, wondering where his lover was. Noticing his look of concern, she had told him that she had assigned Tenten to a mission already and she had left about 45 minutes ago. She told him how Tenten had explained to her that she already had her schedule planned for a mission with Naruto, but it was a mission that she couldn't get out of. Him looking surprised and a bit disappointed, he had his head down. Oh okay, I see. Thank you for telling me, Ba-chan. See you later, he said with a saddened face as he went out the door. He was walking down the stairs to where the two Junin guardians had seen him. Seeing him with a sad face, they wondered what had happened at the Hokage room. They decided to give Naruto his space. Walking down the street sulking, he stopped at Ichiraku. Apparently he had forgotten to eat any breakfast because he was in such a hurry. Ordering the usual, Naruto had his BBQ pork ramen. Itadakimasu, he said with a pained grin on his face. Noticing their favorite customer's expression, the father and daughter ramen makers wanted to know what was wrong. He smiled calmly, telling them he was okay, but was into too much deep thought for once. Eating his bowl of ramen, Naruto paid them for his food and left. He didn't have much of an appetite today because of the news he got earlier. Shocked that their favorite customer wasn't eating like he normally was, they couldn't bear to take the money and said it was on the house. Thanking that he left. Okay, since Ten-chan is gone, what will I do with my time? He pondered. Before getting together with Tenten, Naruto had just been doing missions to pass the time for himself. All the missions were taken, so he didn't have anything to do. An ache came to his heart as he thought that Tenten must not have wanted to go on a mission with him, because he was starting to annoy her. He had walked through the village with nothing to do. A certain ninja came across the young blonde and ran up to him. "Hey Naruto, how you doing, man?" said the spiky-haired lazy genius. Naruto had noticed that Shikamaru had nothing to do either. "Hey Shika. Not so good," said the Bond with a sad grin. Seeing the grin, Shikamaru had thought to himself what he was getting into. He pondered for a while and decided that since it was for Naruto he would do it. "You wanna talk about it?" he asked, trying to get the blonde in a better mood. Looking at Shikamaru, he knew he found a way to pass the time. Okay, thank you Shikamaru," said Naruto with a small smile on his face. Seeing the smile, the genius a little happier. "Man, this talk is going to be troublesome," he said, thinking to himself. He had liked to talk much, but he knew he couldn't leave Naruto the way he was, decided to make this an exception. Naruto had the told Shikamaru to most shocking suggestion. "Okay, let's talk, but I'm bored. Mind if I try some of this shugi that you and Asuma-sensei keep talking about?" he asked with a slight happy grin. Shikamaru was shocked. For Naruto to suggest an intellectual game instead of being the big bronze over brains fighter that he was. He calmly replied, Sure, I don't mind, let's go back to my house," he said, motioning Naruto to follow him. After 45 minutes of walking and talking, Shikamaru began to understand why Naruto was depressed. He now knew that Tenten had promised a mission with Naruto, but she had already gone on one before he got to the Hokage mansion. "Is that all you're depressed over?" Shikamaru said to Naruto. Shikamaru knew that Naruto loved Tenten, but to be depressed about it was totally new to him. Well, think about it Shikamaru. I love Tenten just as much if not more than you love Tamari, he said. Shikamaru blushed heavily at the outlandish statement that Naruto had made to him. "Be baka like anyone would miss the deadly wind girl," he said, causing Naruto to smile and roll his eyes. "Shikamaru, whatever you say," Naruto smiled. After another 10 minutes they arrived at Shikamaru's house. Naruto made himself comfortable while Shikamaru got the shugi board. Placing the board on the floor, they started to play. Naruto didn't know a thing about shugi, but he tried his hand at it. After 10 minutes, Naruto lost. After 20 minutes he lost again. Placing the board again, after 40 minutes he lost again. Shikamaru was surprised. Even though they played only 3 games in the past hour, he noticed that Naruto was getting better at the game. He was having a much longer difficulty each game period that he won. Naruto was actually trying to outthink Shikamaru. It had worked a few times, but he had lost all the same. After it was late in the evening, Naruto decided to go. "Well Shikamaru, I am going to go. Looks like you are still the king of Shugi," Naruto said with a smirk. "Well, I try anyway later, Naruto." As Naruto left, Shikamaru went over the board. He spotted something incredible, something he could not have foreseen even with his 200 IQ. He noticed that as they had kept playing, Naruto would have had Shikamaru cornered and he would have lost. Wow, I am so glad he didn't notice that. You really are a troublemaker even for geniuses, he said with a happy grin. Okay. I guess I will go and take a nap, Shikamaru said, going somewhere quiet. Before Naruto knew it was already dark. Tenten had not come back and he decided to go home. Well, I hope you come home tomorrow then, Ten-chan, he said with a slightly sad grin. As he entered his door, he had gotten ready for bed and put on his pajamas and went to sleep. He had a long day of playing shugi and had a headache. I guess thinking really isn't my thing, Naruto said, not knowing how wrong he was. Well into the night, he heard a banging on his door. A bit irritated, he got up to see who it was. Not wanting to have his sleep disturbed, he answered the door. Hello, he said with a yawn. His eyes suddenly shot open to a person hugging him so much he couldn't breathe. Naruto-kun, I missed you so much, I just had to see you, said the mysterious figure. His eyes adjusting to the light, he noticed a girl with rounded woven hair and a giant weapon scroll. He knew who it was just by the look of the hair. He was overjoyed to say the least. Ten-chan, he said with utter excitement. Placing her hand on his lips, she moved in closer to him, kissing him with a fierce intensity that neither had known. Naruto-kun, I missed you so much, she said, trying to talk and kiss at the same time. He returned her affection with a more intense passion. His tongue had penetrated her mouth, showing how much he had missed her. Stopping the kiss for air, he asked. I thought you were going to be gone for 3 days. He asked with a look of happiness and confusion. I was supposed to, but I rushed our time to finish today so I could see you, she said with tears of happiness in her ears. You're not mad at me for missing our mission, are you, Koibito? She asked with a sad face and tears. Knowing he couldn't be mad at his lover, he wiped the tears from her eyes and took her into his embrace and gave her a deep kiss that seems to shake her entire body. His tongue had greeted hers along with the exchange of fluids that happened during their embrace. Even with the sudden need for air, the two couldn't bring themselves to keep apart from each other. Though the need was great, they both persevered through their kisses. They knew that they were making each other feel good. When the need was too great, they parted from each other. Naruto then told her in her ears. There is no way I can stay mad at my Kanojo, he said, causing her to blush with a few tears. She had loved him so much she didn't want to lose him to anything. Thank you, Koibito, your love is my greatest treasure, she said. He looked in her eyes and smiled. On another beautiful day in Konoha, a blonde was walking down the street with another grin on his face. He was happy because he had received a call from his girlfriend saying that she didn't have any required missions and would be able to go on a mission with him. He was so excited to be able to spend time with his Kanojo that he hadn't noticed he was already in front of the Hokage mansion. Whoa, man, how time flies when you're thinking about the one you love, he thought. Not wasting any time, he ran upstairs to meet with the Hokage about their first mission together. As he opened the door, he spotted his brunette in the corner, happy, waiting for him. His heart had sped up at the sight of her. Even though she was in her regular clothes, she had an aura of pure cuteness around her. He couldn't take his eyes off her, until the Hokage had snapped him out of his gaze at her. Naruto, is there something I can do for you and Tenten? She asked with a slightly annoyed look on her face. Naruto had noticed the expression on her face and had a slight bit of fear on his face. He was already on the end of Tsunade's rope of patience, and before she told them to get out, he had continued the conversation. Oh, sorry, Ba-chan, Ten-chan and I would like to request a mission from you, he asked with the utmost confidence. Always liking the confidence he had stored inside him, she couldn't resist the urge to say no to his request. She knew that this would be their first mission together and had decided on a good mission for them both. Look at Naruto, then at Tenten and back at Naruto, she gave her reply. I see, okay, I'll give you a mission, she said with a big smile on her face. Leaping for joy, Naruto rushed to Tenten and hugged her with a good amount of passion. Feeling the blush go to her cheeks from his strong embrace, Tenten would have nearly lost her composure if not for the Godime Hokage telling him to quiet down. Wow, that was close, she said, clinging on to her chest. She had known Naruto was getting stronger, but she realized that his strength was enough to make her blush. Whether or not they would have taken the next step was solely on her. She knew Naruto would never force her into anything she didn't like, and that was one of the many things she loved about him. Being knocked out of her gaze by the conversation between the two, she put her eyes back on the conversation. So Ba-chan, what mission are we getting? Naruto as in sheer excitement. Noticing this, the Hokage spent no time telling him the details. You will get an escort mission along with 2 other people, she proclaimed to him. He was happy getting a mission, but a little disappointed that it was just him and Tenten. He put the thought at the back of his head. He realized as long as she was with him, he could care less about whoever was with them. Okay, you have your mission. Report to the front gate at 4 o'clock p.m., she stated. Naruto and Tenten knew they had 2 hours to get ready and decided to take their leave. Walking down the street, they decided to part ways in order to get ready. Naruto packed all his necessary scrolls and ninja equipment, while Tenten was sealing weapons into her scrolls. She was able to store vast amounts of weaponry in her scrolls. No one was a bigger weapons fan than her. After an hour of rest, the two decided to walk out the door to the front gate. Arriving at the gate last, Naruto noticed the sensei joining them was Asuma and the other genin was the hound boy, Kiba. Hey Kiba. Hey Asuma sensei. Hey Ten-chan, he said, causing everyone to turn to their blonde teammate. Hey Naruto, said the dog boy with a big grin on his face. Oh, here come the loudest genin, said the bearded Junin while smoking his favorite pack of cigarettes. Oh Whisker boy, you're here, said his brunette lover. He smiled at the new nickname she gave him. Trying to come up with a good name for her, he said the first thing that came to his mind. Oh come on weapons girl, you know I would be here, he said. That nickname sent a blush to her cheeks. She was happy to be given a name associated with weapons and even happier that it came from Naruto. Thank you for the nickname, she said, giving him a quick kiss to the lips. She shocked everyone with her action, including Naruto, not that he was complaining. Oh come on you guys, can't you go one day without that, Kiba said, trying not to feel shaken by the action. Asuma stayed silent. He knew he would get an earful from Tenten if he interfered. After 5 minutes of waiting, their client had arrived. He was a man in his teens, about 2 years from Naruto and 1 year from Tenten. He looked like a total playboy. He noticed the brunette and ran at a great speed to reach her. Taking her hand, he started a conversation. Ah, what a lovely woman, who am I to be in the presence of such beauty, the playboy said, kissing her hand. Naruto's happy smile had turned into an evil face. He wanted to lay the guy flat on his back for even touching Tenten, but he knew that a ninja must not reveal emotions easily, so he gritted his teeth back and forth and tried to let it go. Feeling disgusted by his actions, Tenten removed her hand and tried to talk politely. Thank you, sir, for your compliment, she said with a smile on her face, hiding the kunai that was behind her. She was using every strain of patience to keep from sending the kunai through his head. After the conversation, Tenten turned to look at her lover. She noticed he had an aura of intent around him for touching his lover. She felt happy that her lover had kept his cool, but happy also that he wanted to the client just like her. To Tenten's misunderstanding, Naruto not only wanted to the client, but completely leave no trace of his existence in the world of the ninjas. Noticing this, Tenten walked up to him and whispered in his ear. Don't worry Koibito, I would never betray you for an idiot like that or for anyone else, she said, causing the intent in him to lessen a little, but not completely. I know my Kanojo, but I almost couldn't take that, he whispered in her ear. Her knowing that he wanted to protect her such a great length as to endanger the mission and the client made her heart catch on fire from his passion for her. Knowing he was the one for her, she whispered in his ear the deal of both their lives. Koibito, if you can keep your patience with this man until the end, I will give you, she whispered in his ear. His cheeks lit up in flames at the suggestion that she had made. He had never done it before and neither had she. She had decided he would be her first and hopefully he only. KKK Kanojo, are you serious? He asked with his cheeks still fire engine red. Yep. My Koibito will have me at the end of this mission and the return to the village, she said happily. His mouth had dropped to the ground as all the images ran into his head. The look of an erotic Tenten with him on his bed was more than he could take and nearly fainted, but was able to keep his composure enough to respond. Okay, my Kanojo, I will put up with him, I promise, he said happily. After their conversation, the group headed out. During the long journey, the limits of Naruto's patience were coming into play. He had noticed that the playboy had put his hands around Tenten and then later tried to put his hands on her butt. Noticing Naruto's reactions to the sight, Kiba and Asuma motioned for Naruto to help them with the front. Both were trying to get Naruto away from the sight. See, come on Naruto. Don't get mad man, it is okay, Kiba said, trying to cool the rage in Naruto. Asuma attempted to do the same. Why yeah Naruto, just hang in there, said the Junin. Naruto was trying to calm down, but felt the patience leaving him. It's okay guys, it's okay, I am under control of myself, Naruto said, shaking from the feeling of anger inside him. His anger went past the boiling point when he turned back and saw the playboy trying to kiss Tenten. His rage had climaxed until he pulled out a kunai and threw it between them. Seeing the kunai, Tenten dodged and at the kunai hit a tree behind them. Hey kid, what is your problem? Leave me and the cute brunette alone, said the playboy. Naruto was about to react when a Rouge Nina came out of the bushes to attack. Seeing that excuse, Naruto ran behind them to fight the ninja, motioning everyone to go ahead. As Naruto ended the fight easily with the ninja, he had sped up to the group again and back to his post position in the front. He then turned his head to the playboy, letting out a little of the rage that was inside him. That's why I threw the kunai, you women player, Naruto said, knocking the playboy down a peg. After 16 hours of walking, the ninja had arrived to their destination. The young playboy was greeted by many women for his looks. Personally, Tenten was disgusted by him. She knew Naruto was the only one for her. To have another man touch her body was almost more than she could bear. In truth, if Naruto hadn't thrown that kunai, she would have driven one into the playboy's throat. As they arrived to the destination, they were greeted by some councilmen who thanked them for their services. Appreciating the thanks, the ninjas decided to sleep in the town for the night. The playboy, however, was not through with Tenten. As she was ready to go to sleep, he knocked on her door. Hey pretty lady, mind taking a walk with me, he said with confidence. Knowing Naruto would see, she nodded in agreement and went off with him. As she suspected, Naruto had noticed and followed them. He noticed them sitting behind a tree as they were talking. The boy was talking about his life and asked about her life. Naruto was blinded by anger, but not enough to go just yet. As he left the story, the playboy tried to kiss her again. She had it for the last time and got up to leave. The playboy had forced himself upon her, kissing her all over her body. You know you can't resist me, just give in you bitch, he said with arrogance. Trying to get him off her, she screamed. Help Naruto-kun, help me, she screamed as the playboy finally got a kiss on her. As if on cue, Naruto picked the man up off of her and threw him at a tree. The playboy looked up to see a blonde genin with the biggest intent he had ever seen. He now knew that he had stepped on the landmine known as Uzumaki Naruto. You dare touch her, kiss her and try to force yourself on her, Naruto said in blinded anger. The playboy got up to apologize, not really meaning it, knowing that the genin would not hurt him. He was dead wrong. Not on your life am I going to forgive you, Naruto said using some hand signs. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he said as 500 clones suddenly appeared. Before he went through with it, he turned to Tenten. Hey Ten-chan, our job of protecting him is done right, he said with a mad grin. Yes Naruto-kun, it is over, she said with a happy grin knowing what would befall the playboy. Good then, Naruto said as all his clones rushed at the playboy. They all unleashed an infinite number of punches and kicks on the him. The playboy screamed as he got beat. After 45 minutes of a beating, Naruto stopped to see a face that looked like it had plastic surgery done to it, and not in the good way. Tenten, happy with the result, went to Naruto and left the misshapen teen on the ground out cold. So Koibito, you feel better now? She asked while in his arms. Yeah, much better Kanojo. No one is touching you like that again except me, he said. That's right, I am yours and yours alone, she said to him. So do I pass our deal, he said with a grin. On a rainy day in Wave Country, the squad of 3 genin and 1 junin were packing to go home. After spending the night in Wave Country for rest, everyone was well rested and ready to go. The rain, however, made it a little hard to be cheerful, but a certain hyperactive ninja didn't let the rain get to him as he went to join his friends. Man, I feel so happy for some reason, it's like even this rain can't get me down, said the blonde. Either aware or unaware that he was thinking it, he was happy over a certain deal him and his brunette had made. He knew when he got home, she would be with him until the next day. As everyone set off in the rain, all the villagers had sent them their thanks and waved goodbye. The playboy being in the hospital for unknown reasons to the villagers couldn't see them off. Well team, let's go back, Asuma said, a little annoyed that he couldn't light a cigarette in the rain. Shikamaru nodded lazily. He hadn't gotten any sleep due to Asuma's snoring. Naruto and Tenten were in their own little world, but broke out of it to reply to Asuma. Alright Asuma-sensei, let's go, Naruto said with a wide grin. Tenten was ready to go except that the rain was chilling cold and she worried that she would get a cold. Noticing Naruto move closer to her, she wondered what he has going to do. Are you cold, Ten-chan? He said, taking of his orange jumpsuit and wrapping it around her. She was shocked at his action, though it wasn't something she should have expected it, she didn't. She blushed, thanking him for the warmth she had received. Naruto smiled and nodded at her, and the 2 other ninja had stared at them with smiles on their faces. You guys know that we are still here, right? Said the sleepy genius with a smile. He had noticed how much they were close. They seemed closer than the average couple. Asuma nodded in agreement with Shikamaru. He had thought about it much, but every time he saw them together he felt more reassured in the next generation of Konoha. Putting the actions behind them, Naruto and Tenten decided to wait to be in each other's arms, as they knew that the 2 would keep staring if they did anything else. Yeah, we know you guys are still here, sorry, said the brunette. She was more than warm in Naruto jumpsuit. She could feel all his warmth directed at her in the jacket. She wondered how warm the real thing was when erotic images entered her mind. Without thinking, she had blushed heavily from the images. Not until Naruto made a suggestion did everyone snap out of their gazes. While walking, everyone's attention turned to the blonde genin. How about we all have a race back to Konoha? Said the genin with a simple smile. Everyone was confused, except Tenten. She knew that races were a common thing in her own squad and it wasn't surprising that someone would suggest it. Everyone looked back and forth between each other and gave their replies. Cyan here I wanted to take things easy. Oh well, said Shikamaru giving his nod of approval. Alright sure. I mean the faster we get back the faster I get my cigarette, said the bearded Junin with his nod of approval. Sure I am used to these kind of things, I find them fun now let's do it, said Tenten with a big grin. Everyone had started at the line that was marked by one of Naruto's shadow clones. It was a 34-mile run back to Konoha and walking would take 16 hours. No one wanted to wait that long. Everyone was ready to go. The clone started the countdown. Get ready, said the clone. Everyone tightened their legs for a big lunge. Get set, the clone said. Everyone focused on the path with eyes of fierce determination. Go, said the clone as it disappeared. Everyone instantly ran at full speed trying to get ahead of the other. They all then took to the trees and the battle race started there. Asuma was in the lead, but noticed the genin were hot on his trail. He pulled out his knuckle brasses and used his chakra to widen and make the blade sharper. He suddenly cut the trees around him trying to get the genin to mess up. Being the strategist that he was, Shikamaru had foreseen the possibility at the start of the race. He dodged the trees with little to no effort as he started strategizing to counter the other two behind him. He looked back to see that Tenten was gone. He turned around to see a trip wire in front of him. He barely dodged it, which gave him a haircut. Damn it, Tenten, take it easy, said Shikamaru, feeling a little annoyed. Looking back at him, she smiled. Sorry Shika, but that is the way a ninja race is done, she said with a bit of confidence. Seeing that everyone was getting serious, Naruto started to get his engines rolling. He summoned a shadow clone. The clone took his arm and flung he across the forest. He shot past Asuma and the rest of the team. Hee hee, come on, you have to do better than that guys, Naruto jeered. He summoned a 3 walls of shadow clones for the 3 of them. As he sped away, Asuma came to the first wall and sliced through the group of blondes. Hee hee, it will have to be harder than that to beat me, he said, trying to caught up to Naruto. Shikamaru came up to the second wall of blonde clones and summoned 2 shadows with explosion tags and shot them forward at the wall, causing the clones to disperse. Please, I can handle that, said Shikamaru. He speed past Asuma and went after Naruto. Tenten came up to the third wall. She had a smile that showed she had a good idea. Coming to the wall, she gave a sexy reply. Hey, you blonde boys, can you let me through? She said. With hearts in their eyes, they let her pass easily. She gave them a wink as she departed and they dispersed. After about 4 hours of running, everyone was getting more into the race as time went by. They had crossed 29 miles of the race and had 5 more miles to go. Tenten was currently tied with Naruto and Shikamaru was busy in the back fending of Asuma. Everyone was having so much fun even though it was raining. Tenten was surprised at Naruto's endurance. Though she knew he had a spectacular amount of endurance, everyone was starting to slow down, except Naruto. She was so shocked that he didn't seem the least bit tired. If he has this much endurance, I wonder if, she thought. Shaking the thought, she focused on the race. They were all nearing the gates. Naruto could see them up ahead and channeled more chakra into his feet and ran off. Everyone then unleashed their fastest jutsus to catch up, not wanting to lose to Naruto. Ninja art. Shadow teleportation, said Shikamaru as he went into the shadow, then the shadow ran along the ground at an amazing speed. So, Shikamaru got serious. My turn, said the bearded Junin. Wind style. Blade throw, said the Junin as he swung his brasses and unleashed two wind blades. After molding his charka to match the type of chakra the blades had, he jumped on them and started to ride them. He went after Naruto also. Okay, time to let loose, said the brunette. She traced her blood over a scroll and activate her jutsu. Ninja tools. False teleportation, she said with a kunai in her hand. With kunai she was able to teleport over short distances similarly to the fourth, but it wasn't nearly as good as his. Teleporting she had caught up to everyone. Well, we are all in a dead heat, said Naruto. Another 5 minutes and everyone would have reached the gates. After those 5 minutes, everyone rushed at the gates dead tired. After catching their breath tallied the race. So, Ten-chan came in first, me in second, Shikamaru in third, and Asuma-sensei in fourth, said Naruto. Despite the resets everyone had cleared the 34-mile travel in 6 hours. After laughing at the fun everyone got serious and reported to Lady Tsunade. After clarifying their mission everyone went home and got some rest. Shikamaru and Asuma were fast asleep and wouldn't wake up for the rest of the day. Naruto had waken up to see it was night time. He got up and ate some ramen. After his full he was going back to sleep when he heard a knock on his door. He opened it to see Tenten had him his jumpsuit that she had borrowed while in the rain. Ten-chan, you could have returned it tomorrow, he said. She smiled little his heart and his eyes with fire. He wasn't sleepy anymore. She asked him a simple, yet complicated question. Naruto-kun, can I come in? She asked. Seeing that she came all the way here, he couldn't turn her away, not that he would have anyway. Why yeah sure, come in hun, he said with a big grin inviting her inside. He escorted her to his living room. She scanned his room and saw that it was quite nice and tidy consider how many people talked about him. He sat next to her staring at her eyes. She was wondering how she should do what she was planning. She followed her instincts and got up to face him. Naruto-kun, do you really love me? She said with a blush brighter than any previous one. Of course Ten-chan, you are mine and I am yours, you are the only one I want, he said. With a few tears off her eyes, she was happy to finally completely know she had his love. She had undressed her clothes to a stunned Naruto. She stripped everything until only her underwear were remaining. She had on black lingerie that seemed to give her Koibito a nosebleed. Snapping him out of the sight she said what she had always wanted to say. Take me Naruto-kun, I love you so please take me, she said. Now knowing what this was about he stood up to her. Ten-chan, I will love you forever, I promise, he said. He leaned in closer to her and kissed her. With tears in her eyes she submitted to the kiss. Feeling the passion that wasn't there at the start of their relationship, both felt attracted to each other. His kiss had made her legs weak, but she still stood. His tongue had encountered hers again. They swirled around in each other's mouths. They couldn't part from each other even if they want to. Their urge to be with each other overpowered any type of sense that may have come into their minds. As they parted for air, Naruto had began kissing her neck, paying close attention to her face that was feeling the pleasure from his kisses. He went lower and unclipped her bra revealing her S. He was now focused on her S that he began ing and kissing. Hearing her moans only made him work harder to pleasure her. She couldn't even think straight. In combination with her love for him, the pleasure she was feeling made her so happy that she couldn't believe it was happening to her. She couldn't contain the moans that came from her lips as he continued to give her pleasure. He had stopped momentarily to stand up and whispered in her ear. Does it feel good, Kanojo? He said teasing her. Oh Koibito, it feels so good, I love you, she said with teary eyes happy that she was experiencing this with her love. Then, I shall continue to give you pleasure, Kanojo, he said seductively. He picked her up bridal style and placed her on his bed. With her legs spread out he could see that she was feeling the pleasure from the soaked panties she still had on. Him kneeling down he went to her private spot and licked it gently. Feeling her teeth from the pleasure he took of his clothes and her panties. He knelt back down and licked her swollen spot. His tongue went deep into her inner chambers making sure with each thrust to make her moan. Feeling too good, Tenten was becoming overstimulated. She didn't know Naruto would be this good. The pleasure from her lover's tongue almost her over the edge. The way Naruto was pleasuring her, she could tell he was more of the giving type than the receiving. He was solely focused on giving her pleasure that her give him pleasure. Not being able to stand the feeling anymore, she came out with her statement. Kei Koibito, I need you now, please no more teasing, I need you inside me, she said with a heavily seductive panting. Naruto noticing she was ready and wet enough, he pulled down his pants. She was shocked to see how big he was. She now knew he was feeling turned on from everything that had transpired between them. Alright Kanojo, no more teasing, I will become one with you, said Naruto. As he slowly came up to her, he slowly entered her knowing that he was her first and that made both of them happy. She had braced herself for what was coming. She was both happy and afraid for this was a great experience for both. He lunged forward and took her virginity. Feeling a little pain, she trembled a bit. Kanojo, are you okay? He said wondering if he should take it out. As he moved back, she crossed her legs, not allowing him to leave. It's okay Koibito, I need you, please give me pleasure, she said. Not denying her request he started to move. First his movement was slow trying to keep from giving her pain. As she became adjusted to the pain, he was able to go faster. He was soon going fast enough for her to be able to moan loudly in his bedroom. She had felt all the love from Naruto come into her. She was overjoyed at this as he moved forward she was feeling the incredible pleasure that was going forward too. His love was now hitting hers with great force that caused her to scream after each lunge. He could feel the incredible sensation that was coming from her. He could feel the tightness around his hardness. Koibito, I am about to come, she said as the pleasure from her was about to be released. Me too Kanojo, I am coming close, he said. Both knowing what the other wanted they kept going faster and faster with the pleasure increasing in their lovemaking. As they couldn't take it anymore, they both screamed together. Koibito, I love you, she said releasing all her love. A beautiful morning in Konoha had woken up a certain blonde from his bed. He had gotten up gently as not to disturb the sleep on a certain brunette Kunoichi. After their first time yesterday, Naruto knew she was tired from the pleasure she had received from him. Kissing her on the side of her cheek, he walked out the bedroom to fix his beloved a breakfast. He went into the kitchen and looked to see what he could make. Knowing her the way he did, he was sure she would like something Chinese-like. Nodding over what to make he started to gather ingredients for his special one. I hope she likes my cooking, I haven't really had anyone to cook for except myself, the blonde said as he started to make breakfast. Still sleeping soundly the brunette was having pleasant dreams about her loved one. More precisely their union last night. Tenten was prone to say what was happening in her dreams and that didn't change even at Naruto's house. Wow Naruto-kun, you wanna go again? She said aloud in her sleep. The aroma from the kitchen had made its way to the bedroom. Tenten was woken up to the smell of something delicious. She looked over to see that her lover was gone. Judging from the smell she made the obvious deduction that he was in the kitchen. Getting to her feet she walked into the kitchen to see what the delicious smell was. Her mouth had nearly dropped to the ground as she saw the meal that Naruto had prepared for her. He had made her fried fish with white rich and miso soup. In addition to that, he pulled out a tray full of Chinese buns and sesame dumplings. The smell of everything was intoxicating. Naruto had broken her gaze of the food onto him. "Happy birthday, Ten-chan," he said, giving her a kiss on her cheek. She was shocked at the surprise that Naruto had laid out for her. She was even more surprised that he knew her birthday. She couldn't recall ever telling him about her birthday. She wasn't complaining that he had given her a fantastic opening to her birthday, but she wanted to know how he knew her birthday. Noticing her reaction to him knowing her birthday, he looked at her with a smile on his face. "Is it strange for a guy to know his girl's birthday?" he said, still smiling. Putting on a confused, but happy face, she knew she couldn't argue that, though she still wanted to know, knowing that she would not let the problem go. He gave his answer. "If you're wondering how I know, your parents told me," he said with a big grin. Knowing that now she was happy, that he wanted to make her happy, especially on her birthday. Accepting the answer she had received, Tenten sat down to the table of delicious-looking food. Naruto served her plate and she gratefully received it. "Itadakimasu," she said as she had begun to eat. Eating her food, she had noticed that the Chinese buns he made was not similar to regular stores or shop owners' buns. His tasted much better, as if he had a talent for bun making. The bun was light and fluffy, it seemed to melt in her mouth upon the touch of her lips. Continuing to eat, she noticed Naruto just sitting at the table smiling at her. "What is it, Naruto-kun?" she said, staring at him. Naruto pondering that question, he decided to ask his own question. He knew he wanted to make her birthday feel right and perfect. Him still staring at her, he asked his question. "Say, Ten-chan, where would you like to go for your birthday?" he said, looking at her. She didn't know how to answer that question. She hadn't really done anything special for her birthdays and just ignored them. Remembering about the Chinese act coming to Konoha today, she had made her suggestion. Though it was impossible for them to go. She knew that the tickets would be expensive and didn't want Naruto to spend all his money on her birthday. Still, she asked anyway, not knowing why. There is a Chinese act coming to Konoha today, do you think we can go to that?" she asked, knowing it was impossible for Naruto. She didn't know why she asked, but she was about to ask him to forget it when she saw him smiling. He looked at her with a big grin and decided to tease her a bit. "Say, Ten-chan, I think there is an extra Chinese bun in that jar over there," he said, grinning, knowing she couldn't resist the buns from her reaction earlier. She thought he was avoiding her question, but didn't blame him, thinking he couldn't get tickets anyway. As she got up with a saddened look on her face, she approached the jar. Instead of an extra Chinese bun, all she saw was 2 pieces of paper in the jar. As she reached for them and looked at them, her eyes turned from a sad face to a utterly shocked face. What she had in her hands were 2 tickets to the Chinese act that she had wanted to go to. But how did you?" she asked, trying to finish the sentence, but failed. Him noticed her confusion, he decided to tell her. "I had reserved the act a few weeks ago, I was gonna take you for our second date, but your birthday seemed like a better date," he said, smiling at her. She had clearly underestimated just how much Naruto cared for her. Rushing at him, she gave him one of their deepest kiss ever. She was overjoyed that she would get to see an act that so few people get to go to because of the outrageous prices. "Thank you so much, Naruto-kun, I can't believe it, you actually got tickets," she said, squealing. Him smiling with much happiness in his heart about her present, he replied. "Now, Ten-chan, what kind of lover would I be if I couldn't even do this much?" he asked. She smiled at his comment and laughed. She knew he could take care of her. "Thank you, Naruto-kun, when does the show start?" she asked, wanting to know more. Him, not wasting a second of her happiness, answer fast. "At 4 o'clock p. M10-chan, he replied. She looked at the current time, which was 3 hours before the show. She knew she had to get ready and decided to go, bidding her lover goodbye until 4. Leaving his house, she ran home to put on a Chinese dress to take to the act. She wore a reed dress with drawings of white flowers on it. Her shoes were red also, as she put everything on and ran out the door. After 3 hours had passed, she spotted Naruto coming up to the entrance in a male Chinese outfit. She had to admit that he sure knows how to fill out a Chinese outfit. He wore an all-black Chinese outfit with black shoes, which seemed to complement her red dress. Being together, they attracted a lot of attention from people staring at them. As they went inside, she noticed that they were put in a separate room with an extravagant setting. Naruto-kun, what type of room is this? She wondered as they walked around the room. Realizing he didn't tell her, he immediately turned to her. Oh, that's right, it didn't tell you. It got tickets to watch the show from a VIP room, he exclaimed. Seeing the shocked look on her face, he knew it was a lot to take in for her. She had never done anything so fancy for her birthday, but knowing her expression, she came to tears over the perfect birthday she was having. Naruto-kun, again, thank you so much for this, she said, giving him a good kiss. Knowing he had made her very happy, he gave her his reply. I am to please my lover, of course, he said. She smiled as she took her seat and he took his seat. The show had begun. They saw amazing examples of Chinese history as well as Chinese gymnastics and martial arts. Tenten knew she could put this in her training. Naruto had seen the finer examples of weaponry like Tenten. He had noticed the many uses for the Kasaragi Gamma tool that many farmers used for crops. As a special ending to the show, they saw a play depicting two Chinese lovers secretly meeting each other in order to keep their love strong to each other. Both enjoyed the play as the ending came. At the exit, Tenten expressed her gratitude to her lover for the great time she had. It was close to 10 at night and they decided to go home. Before they left, Naruto asked for the last time today. Is there anything else you want for your birthday, Tenten? He asked. She stared at him and pondered what she could want. With a smile on her face, she nodded. Yes, there is, Naruto-kun, I want you again, she said. Naruto, shocked at the response, laughed with a slight hint of blushing. To respond to her, he turned to her. If it is what my Kanojo wants, he said. Her blushing at his comment, she responded back. Then, let's go Koibito, she said. They left for his house. As they arrived at his house, they opened and closed the door. He had kissed her heavily, allowing his tongue to say hello to hers. They intermingled between each other and they had kept their mouths together in their passionate embrace. She felt his strong arms around her and felt a sense of protecting in them. He felt her soft body on his as he held her close to him. Breaking away for air, he removed her clothes and she removed his. It was her birthday. He was solely dedicated to give her pleasure. He kissed her neck and chest, revealing the moans from her mouth, saying that she was being satisfied. He went lower to her keeping his hands over her body as he pulled her close to him. He had gotten better at teasing her. He knew the best spots to get her to moan perfectly. His breath had crept down her skin as he came to the private spot. He had licked it gently and started to be more aggressive in his technique. She had been feeling all the pleasure he was giving her. He had given her exactly what she wanted. He was always more than happy to give her pleasure. She could feel her consciousness slipping from the pleasure. She then let out a big moan as he licked her. She had fallen to the ground from that one touch. Knowing she couldn't hold on due to the pleasure, she laid back on the bed. She motioned for her lover to come to her. That felt great, Koibito, she said. Now continue to make me feel good, she said with a very pleasurable face. Naruto couldn't deny her request, 1. Because it was her birthday, and 2. He wouldn't even if it wasn't her birthday. Of course, Kanojo, I will give you a good end to your birthday, he said. She got on her back and was ready to receive him. She wanted another magical night like last night. Not wanting to disappoint his love, he put his hardness inside her, which made her scream in a pleasure. She had grabbed the covers on the bed with one hand and trying not to be loud, cover her mouth with the other. Naruto was moved fast for her. She could feel her walls take in his love more and more. The more he pushed, the harder she moaned. She was in a never-ending sea of pleasure. She realized that his endurance at their acts was one of his most promising features about him. About to come, he was ready to take it out, when she crossed her legs again, not let him get away. He turned and looked at her. It's okay, Koibito. Give me all your love and I want to give you mine, she said with a red face from the pleasure. Nodding to her, he continued his pleasure for her as both neared the end of that journey. He was about to release all of his love into her again. She wanted all his love as proof that she was his and he was hers. Kei Kanojo, I love you so much, he said as he released inside her. On a bright day in Konoha, a certain couple was headed to the Hokage mansion. It had been a month since the brunette's birthday and she was happy with the end result of it. She had felt a closer connection to her blonde lover. She knew she couldn't be apart from him. She loved him too much to leave him alone. While she was uncertain about their future, she knew their present was looking very bright. Why do you think Ba-chan summoned us to the Hokage mansion? The blonde asked. I am not sure why. Maybe it is a mission again like last week, she said holding his arm. His face turned from a happy one to a terrified one as he remembered the last mission they went on. He was terrified to leave the village for 3 days until he got better from the incident. Choosing to dislodge the incident from his memories, Naruto chose to focus on the time he got to spend with Tenten. Well, let's hurry up and get there on time, Ten-chan, he said as he ran ahead. Nodding her agreement, she ran after him. After a few minutes running, they arrived at the Hokage mansion. Both went past the guards and went into the main room. Knocking politely, they both entered the room to notice that along with the Godime Hokage was the proud Toad Sage of the Hidden Leaf. Naruto, being shocked the most of the two, didn't understand the situation. Ero Sennin, he shouted, pointing a finger of accusation at him. The Toad Sage, not liking the name that Naruto had given him, shouted back, trying to earn what little respect he could from the blonde. It's not Ero Sennin, you twit, I am the Toad Sage of the Leaf, Jiraiya, he said with a proud expression. Being annoyed by the teacher-student duo, Tsunade hit the desk, causing the entire building to shake. Quiet down, both of you, she said, rubbing her temples. Tenten approached the Hokage with an apologetic expression for Naruto. Letting the situation go, the Hokage decided to begin the meeting. Anyway, after our meeting, Jiraiya and I have decided to send the both of you to train with him for 2 years, she said. Taken back by her words, Tenten began thinking of what this training was about. Naruto was, for once, thinking about it too. They had never left the village for such a long time. Not to mention that if they left, they would miss the next Chunin exams and would still be genin. As if the two Sannin were reading their minds, they had begun their explanation. We believe that the Akatsuki will attack soon and we need to be ready, Tsunade explained. They both knew that the Akatsuki would be after Naruto's Biju. Tenten saw the concern in Naruto's eyes as he knew they were telling the truth. With Jiraiya, we don't have to worry as much and his training will benefit the both of you, she had continued. Tenten was thinking about the reasons for this training. She had understood why Naruto had to go, but she didn't understand why she had to also. Tenten, the reason you are coming too is because as Naruto's girlfriend, you could be in danger of being a hostage by the Akatsuki, Jiraiya said. Tenten could understand that. As for her skills now, she knew that she couldn't begin to match up to an Akatsuki member. Seeing she had understood their reasons, they continued. We know we should have told you sooner, but you had gone on missions and it was hard to get a hold of you. Jiraiya said. Naruto was processing the information he had just received from the two as they gave them time to think. Naruto had seen the usefulness of the training they were going to receive, though he knew that being away from the village for so long was weighing on his mind. Trusting Naruto's judgment in this matter, Tenten let him choose. As far as her was concerned, as long as she was with Naruto, she didn't care where she went. All eyes were on Naruto. He had never been in such a spot before. After finding all the positive and negative aspects of this training, Naruto made his decision. Alright, we will go with you on the condition that you train us seriously, he said with a serious face. Tenten nodded at his conditions too and made the decision to go with him. Having signed the necessary documents that stated both Naruto and Tenten would be gone due to a very important situation, Tsunade gave them the details. Okay. You leave tomorrow afternoon, pack all your essentials that you will need for the 2-year trip, she said with a positive grin. She knew that they would improve a great deal over the 2 years, but what she wondered was, how much stronger Naruto was going to get in those 2 years. Dismissing the two genin, Tsunade returned to her work. As they left the Hokage mansion, Naruto and Tenten went home to immediately pack their things. Well, see you tomorrow, Ten-chan, he said with a grin. See you tomorrow, Naruto-kun, she said with a similar grin. Knowing they would get watched, they chose to do it anyway. Naruto leaned to Tenten and gave her a deep kiss. Tenten returning the kiss while more gusto had spotted a few villagers and ninja glaring at them. Trying to forget the audience watching and focus on their kiss, the couple had shown their love for each other out in public. Many people gave the young couple plenty of support and they parted from their kiss for air. As they parted, they heard the applause from many villagers. Blushing from the sight, Naruto had decided to pick Tenten up bridal style and run her home. All the women of the villager were shocked, wishing they could be carried like that. As he reached her house, he let her down. Well, I suppose that we gave the village a lasting impression of us, don't you think, Ten-chan? He said. Yeah, looks like they won't forget us for a while, she said with a happy grin on her face. As they went to their separate houses, they packed all the essentials as Tsunade suggested. They even bumped into each other in the street trying to buy new things for their trip. After the many hours of packing and arranging of their suitcases, they went to sleep. He sleeps soundly thinking of being able to be with her for 2 whole years. She had the same dream about him. Knowing she wouldn't be parted from him, she thanked Kami that she was his girl. At dawn, the two meet up at the training field where their lives had changed that day. She had remembered his confession to her. He remembered her tears at his confession. They both remembered their first kiss with each other under the oak tree to their left. As they stayed there for a few hours, they took a little nap beside each other, enjoying the other's company and warmth. As they woke up, they saw that it was late in the morning. Naruto, being the first to wake up, motioned his brunette out of her dreams. Ten-chan, come on, get up. It is time to go, he said. See, come on, Naruto-kun, one more time, she said in her sleep. He blushed heavily, only being able to imagine what she was dreaming. Pushing a little harder, he woke her up from her sleep. Oh, Naruto-kun, is it time to go? She asked. Okay, you two. Time for a break, he said as they had fallen to the ground in relief. Jiraiya had kept the weights on their bodies, telling them that before they could do any of the harsh training he had in store, they would have to work on their stamina. As they were now, they wouldn't be able to sustain the training he had. Even when Naruto had the Kyuubi, the chance that they would live would have been extremely low. As they washed their bodies in a nearby river, feeling the fresh water on their skin, they had felt revived. Ah, this feels so good, Tenten said as she sprinkled water on herself. Naruto looked up from the water to see a gorgeous kunoichi showering on her face. He had blushed seeing his Ten-chan so hot yet so cool in the water. Noticing him staring, Tenten decided to tease him a bit. As she walked over the water, she purposely slipped in the water and got drenched in the water, revealing her hidden garments to her lover. Naruto not missing the scene, Naruto got a nosebleed from his lover. He knew she did it on purpose, but couldn't resist the urge to stare. Going toward her, he had a big smile on his face as her whispered in her ear. "You know what, Kanojo, that wasn't fair," he said as he pulled her up out of the water. "I know, Koibito, but you enjoyed it, didn't you?" she said seductively. Naruto gave her a deep, passionate kiss as they stood in the water. Both were so into the kiss, with their tongues massaging each other, that they didn't notice Jiraiya staring. He had been writing in his book the ideas that they had shown him. He, this next book is gonna be quite the seller," he said. As the two genin parted from their kiss, they walked over to Jiraiya to get dry. After spending time to dry off, Jiraiya spoke. "Okay, you two. First we are going to go to the nearest town and stay there for 2 days, then we will train after spending an hour there." Nodding that they understood his instructions, the three had started walking again as they walked to the nearest town. After nearly 3 more hours of walking, the group had come to the first town. "Okay, like we discussed, now you two have free time to do what you want," he said as he left them in the middle of the road. Staring at each other for a while, Naruto decided to break the silence. "So Ten-chan, what would you like to do?" he asked. Her, knowing that he didn't have anything to do, decided to speak. "Well, shall we look at some weapon shop, Whisker Boy?" she said with a big smile. Him, knowing her passion for weapons, nodded as they spent the past hour or so in the weapon shops. Knowing it was time for training, they had left to rejoin their teacher in the fields outside the town. "Oh, you're both here, good, you're both on time," he said. "Okay, time to get down to business," he said as he pulled out a piece of paper. Them, looking at the paper in utter confusion, had asked him, What is with the paper?" "I thought we were training," said the brunette. "I knew he wasn't gonna take this seriously," said the blonde. Jiraiya knocked Naruto upside the head as he explained. "This is chakra paper. It tells us what kind of nature chakra you have," said the toad sage. Both realizing the paper from their time in the academy. The sage continued. "You fuse your chakra with the paper and the paper will react to the type of nature your chakra is," he said. Both were excited about the feeling of have a good type of chakra. Naruto volunteered to go first. Jiraiya handed him the paper and he closed his eyes and fused his chakra with the paper. Having finished the act, everyone noticed that the paper had split in two, then burned to a crisp. Jiraiya gasped as Naruto didn't understand what was the problem. Stumbling over his words, Jiraiya spoke to them. Naruto, you have two natures, wind and fire, one of the best combinations in the world," he said with a smile, though he was still shocked. Normally people only had one nature of chakra, and have two was extremely rare. It had never been documented of a leaf ninja other than the Uchiha having more than one nature. Feeling lucky, Tenten decided to give it a go. "It's my turn, isn't it?" she said. Jiraiya stared at her, then handed her the paper. "Okay. Naruto is one thing, but I doubt Tenten has two also," he said. Tenten had focused her chakra into the paper. She held back out of the concentration as everyone checked the paper. The paper had become soggy and wet. Jiraiya, nodding at the sign, he took the paper and was about to tell Tenten her nature, then he felt a shock to his hands as he saw an electric current run along the paper. His hand trembled at the sight. Not only had both Tenten and Naruto been the newest couple to Konoha, but now they became the newest users of two natures. Stumbling over his words, Jirai spoke with a wide grin. Tenten, you have two natures also, water and lighting, the second best combination in the world, he said. Jiraiya knew then that those two coming to love each other was a terrifying thing. If they mastered their natures together, they would be the best pair of ninjas around. Not only were they a couple, but their natures complemented the other two. I'm gonna have my work cut out for me, he thought. Continuing to speak, Jiraiya turned to them. Okay. We will put the nature chakra training on hold till you're ready, he said. Them nodding, he activated the weights on their bodies. Their bodies feeling heavy just like before, Jiraiya gave his instructions. Both of you are to run around this 5-mile radius of clearing 20 times, he said as he walked off, leaving the genin alone. As they began to run, they had realized that this run was far more difficult than they had anticipated. Tenten was on her 5th lap and Naruto on his 6th. Both were feeling the strain of their bodies trying to run with effort and endurance that they both didn't really have. It entered nighttime as Jiraiya came back to check on his students. Both were on the field on their backs. I guess even they couldn't finish this one, he said. He never thought they would finish, but he knew that they probably did good. In truth, he didn't expect anything more than 13 laps around. As he knelt to Tenten, he spoke to her, who was too tired to talk. So Tenten, how many laps have you done? He said, expecting a number less than 13. Her straining to get up, she looked at her teacher and replied. I did 18 laps, Jiraiya-sensei, she said as she went to sleep. His eyes were wide open as he thought about what she said. Man, this girl must have been moving, he said as he glanced at Naruto. Walking over to Naruto, he had not expected anything. He knew if Tenten had done the number of laps she did, then Naruto must have finished. He knelt down. Naruto, how many laps did you do? He said to the tired as hell genin. Naruto looked up to see his sensei and he replied. On a bright day in the new town the group had founded, Naruto and Tenten had woken up from their room. Knowing that the two would complain if he didn't, Jiraiya set the two up to share the same room. They were overjoyed that he had complied with their request. Going to the shower, Tenten looked at Naruto with a big grin. Well, Naruto-kun, I am going to take a shower, she said, trying to point out an obvious fact. Not knowing what she was implying, he brushed the statement off. Okay, Ten-chan, have a good soak, he said, oblivious to what she wanted. Knowing she would have to be more direct with him at times, she made a bigger effort to get him to see her point. Okay, Naruto-kun, but I wonder who will scrub my back for me, she said. Him keeping he comment in his head, he finally realized what she had been implying. Turning quick to see her with a seductive look, Naruto quickly got up to his feet and followed her. He couldn't believe his brunette's way of thinking, but he wasn't complaining about it. I would be happy to help you with that, weapons girl, he said with his usual wide grin. She knew he wanted to come with her. Not wanting to keep him waiting in suspense for her answer, she faced the door with a finger in the air, motioning him to follow her. Well then, what are you waiting for, Whisker boy, she said with a beautiful smile. He blushed heavily at the way she said it. He followed her into the shower. As they got in the shower, Jiraiya came in to check on the two lovers. He noticed that they weren't in bed, though they were somewhere else. Until he heard moaning come from the shower. He placed his ear to the door to hear what was happening. Koibito, faster, faster, you feel so good, said the brunette with an unusual amount of pleasure in her voice. Jiraiya backed away from the door and accidentally bumped his head on the closet. He had a nosebleed and his trademark pervert smile. Ha 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 ha, that's the way, Naruto, keep it up, my student, Jiraiya said as he left the two in peace. As the two exited the shower, having their lovemaking finished, they decided to get dressed. As they put their clothes on, Tenten turned to Naruto. Naruto-kun, you are the best lover in my world, she said. He blushed at her comment as he had never been complimented like that. As they kept traveling, his feelings for her were more than 10 times that when they left. He could see she had gotten taller and was more thin and beautiful. Gazing at her, he decided to comment. As long as I am with you, I will pleasure you non-stop, he said with a confident smile. She blushed and chuckled at the comment. She knew he would take care of her. He had been doing so for about 5 months now. He had never let her down once. He never expected anything from her. Her love was all he really wanted to keep going. As they were fully dressed, they left their room and ran out the door to meet Jiraiya. He was standing wait for the two when he saw them run towards him. Him not being able to resist the urge to tease them spoke. Man, what took you so long? What were you two doing? He said, completely aware of what they were doing. Them blushing at the ground, not being able to look their sensei in the eye, started to speak. We overslept, right Ten-chan, he said to her with a nervous grin. Why yeah, that's right Naruto-kun, we overslept, hee, she said, covering the blush she was wearing. Jiraiya decided to let them off easy and forgot about it. He took them to a mellow field where they began their nature chakra training. Both were past any weights that Jiraiya used to seal on them. He insisted that they use a new type of seal that they were given. Eager to get them, Jiraiya used a few hand signs and activated gravity seals on them. The seals were to raise the amount of gravity on the human body to get better training that regular weights could. Over a week and the two could barely train with the weights on, but they soon got better and fought on equal terms as a couple of Junin Jiraiya set up for them. As they entered the field, Jiraiya turned to them. Okay, we shall begin you nature training, he said with enthusiasm. Both felt they were ready to handle the pressure of the training. Jiraiya turned to Naruto. Okay Naruto, you have wind and fire, he said. Naruto nodded as Jiraiya began his explanation. First, wind. Wind is about precision Naruto, it become as sharp as possible and able to cut through anything, he said. Naruto nodded, showing he understood. Jiraiya took him to a waterfall and had him make 20 shadow clones at the waterfall. I want you to focus your chakra into the waterfall, make it split in two, and the clones will help increase the effort of the training. Naruto nodded and went to start his training. Jiraiya then turned to Tenten. Okay Tenten, you have water and lightning, he said. She nodded as he spoke. First, lightning. Lightning is also about precision, but it is also about speed. It comes from the chakra in your body's electrons. To use lighting is very difficult. Lighting is unpredictable and is pure energy, he explained. Tenten nodded a bit in nervousness over the explanation. Don't worry Tenten, you won't get shocked if you control the lighting is all, he said, giving her a sigh of relief. I want you to first learn to build up lighting in your hand, he said. She nodded, understanding the procedure from a few scrolls she read in Konoha. She tried to first get a feel for the electricity in her body. She could feel the little sparks of electricity in her body and she began. Holding out her hand, she tried to concentrate. Naruto was still busy trying to cut the water in half. He wasn't faring too well, but he knew he would get the hang of it. Both were training with little to no progress. They didn't think they would be able to get anything in the first day. Jiraiya noticed a storm was coming and motioned the two to come with him. They both ignored his call and still kept training despite the weather. Their souls had been connected to each other, like both were telling the other not to give up. As the storm increased in size, Jiraiya was still watching his students train. As lighting came down from the sky, Jiraiya started to get worried about Tenten. As he had expected, the lightning got attracted to her and came down to strike her. As the bolt hit Tenten, Naruto turned from the waterfall to see the girl completely unharmed, much to Jiraiya's surprise. To his being shocked more at what she had done. Tenten had taken the lightning she had been his with compressed it with her chakra into her hand, making a new version of the Rasengan with lightning nature. Jiraiya and Naruto were surprised at Tenten's feat. She showed her sensei the ball of electricity. What now, Jiraiya? She said. He looked at the ball in wonder, but broke himself out of the wonder. Hit that tree, I want to see something, he said. Coming up with a new name, she walked towards the tree. They wondered what she was thinking. Lightning style, thunder pulse, she said as the ball of pure energy hit the tree. There was a big flash of light as all three closed their eyes. As the light vanished, they all look in awe at what was shown. Tenten not only blew the tree away, but left a giant crater in the middle of the would-be forest. The fact that she hasn't even mastered it yet scares me, Jiraiya said. He knew that if she had mastered it, she would have made a far bigger crater than that. The storm still raging, Naruto looked at Tenten in wonder. Their connection is what strived them to do better. He turned back to the waterfall and focused more. Jiraiya stared and Naruto wondering what he was about to do. Naruto cut the training to try an attempt at a jutsu using wind. He didn't think it would work, but he just wanted to do something. As he made hand signs, Tenten and Jiraiya looked at him. Wind STLYE, wind tunnel, he said, focusing at the water. After a few seconds, everyone looked at the sky to see a large tunnel of wind coming out of the sky. Naruto, deciding at the last minute to compress the wind and chakra more, did so. The wind began to spiral and Naruto jumped out of its way as it hit the waterfall. The high-pressure wind has caused everyone to close their eyes from the blast. As it calmed down, everyone opened their eyes. Jiraiya and Tenten had their jaws to the ground. They saw a giant hole in the middle of the water and a giant hole in the hill that was holding the waterfall to see clearly the exit of the tunnel to the destroyed trees behind the hill. Jiraiya was dumbfounded. He didn't know what to say. In all his years as a ninja, he had never seen such powerful jutsu by almost any ninja, let alone a genin. How much power do these two have, he thought. He realized they had caught on to the training pretty fast but still needed a bit of work. These two have the potential for strongest couple, he said with a rare look of seriousness. He thought it weird that these two with the strongest nature combinations were dating. He wondered if it was a coincidence. He let the thought go for a bit. All right, you both have done good, now let's head back, he motioned. They nodded and left. They are gonna get stronger. I just know it, he said. It was another hot day on their journey, as the group of ninja had been to many towns and countries. The blonde and brunette who were under the teachings of the Toad Sage had surpassed the regular limits of most genin and chunin. They had the potential for great things. Over the past 4 months, Naruto and Tenten had been perfecting their first natures. They had put in a considerable amount of effort to learn to harness their nature. Naruto could now form tornadoes of about any size, and Tenten could now cause a lightning dragon to appear in the skies. As they walked, Jiraiya was in more deep thought. These two are extraordinary. They have completely mastered their first natures, he said with a look of confusion and joy. He was proud that his students were getting the hang of their training. Realizing the time, Jiraiya stopped them in the middle of their walking. What is it, Arrow Senin? Naruto said in confusion. Jiraiya knocked him upside the head for the nickname. Continuing for the conversation, he looked at the two. Okay, you two have completely mastered your first natures, now for the second, he said. They both jumped for joy as they knew he would be giving them a different kind of training. Okay, so what are we waiting for? The brunette said eagerly, wanting to try some water jutsu. Yeah, let's go, said Naruto as he ran off. Jiraiya decided to train them all day for today. He felt it was compensation for their moments alone so he could get research. Okay, let's get started, he said with a grin of confidence. He took them to another open field. It was about twice as big as the last one they went to. Okay, Naruto, your second nature is fire. Fire comes from your will and drive to get things done. It is normally concentrated in the center of the stomach, he said, explaining to Naruto the nature. As Naruto nodded, Jiraiya gave his next instruction. Okay, fire is shot out of the mouth or at times from the surrounding area. Naruto, I want you to learn the needed hand signs for fire jutsu, he said, handing Naruto a scroll with word on it. Naruto grumbled a little at the scroll. He hadn't liked to study, but he knew it couldn't be avoided. He ran to a secluded spot and started to read. Jiraiya then turned to face Tenten. Alright Tenten, your second nature is water. Water is focused by emotion. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the jutsu. However, water symbolizes calmness, so you must have a calm emotion to use the power effectively, he explained to her. She nodded that she understood. He gave her a scroll too and told her to go over the hand signs for water jutsu. She went next to Naruto and started to read. Jiraiya went off to the next town for supplies, leaving the two genin to their reading. After 4 hours of pure reading, both were starting to understand the process of doing using their second nature. Around the time they finished, Jiraiya returned to see that the two had put the scroll away and were running laps to warm up for their training. So you guys read the scrolls over, he said with a big grin, ready to start their training. Yeah, we are ready to start our nature training, Naruto stated as Jiraiya put the supplies on the ground. Okay, first Tenten, water is found everywhere, even in the ground. You are to learn to draw that water out of the ground and water the plants in the surrounding area, he stated to her. She nodded and sat down and looked at the pile of plants. She placed her hand on top of the pile to try to bring the water to the surface. As she was doing that, Jiraiya turned to Naruto. Now Naruto, I know you don't like heat, but to master this nature you must become accustomed to it, he said to the blonde as he made his instructions known. You are to focus the heat around you and let it envelop your body and try to bring it to the center of your stomach. As a result, your stomach will feel warmer and hot from containing the hot chakra, and it will then mold the chakra into fire for you to use, he explained to Naruto, who had nodded that he agreed, which was a good thing that he was more attentive. Standing a few feet from Tenten, Naruto began his training. Jiraiya chuckled at the sight. He noticed that the two couldn't be apart from each other even when training. Haha, that is youth for you, he said as he sat down under a tree in the shade watching his students. In 10 hours, night had claimed the sky. The two genin were getting the hang of doing the training. Tenten managed to make a small fountain of water appear over the plants. Naruto drawing in the heat around him and was able to bring it to the center of his stomach, but would stop because of the burning his stomach was feeling. Yeah, Naruto, the stomach has to get adjusted to the heat, he thought to himself. Having seen enough of what they could do, he was surprised to see that they didn't learn a giant jutsu like with their first natures. They all went back to get some rest from the training. As Naruto and Tenten went to their room, they had thought about what to do with their new training. Both puzzled over the issue before sleep had claimed them both. They laid in each other's arms that night. Morning came and they had gotten up earlier than Jiraiya. They went back into the fields to work on their nature training. They had gotten much better at the training. Tenten could now make a bigger fountain of water for the plants, and Naruto's stomach had gotten adjusted to the heat from the chakra. As Jiraiya woke up, he saw that his students weren't in their room. He knew then that they were training. Haha, Naruto, I can understand, but you Tenten, now that is a shock. I guess this just proves you're his girlfriend, he said. He had arrived at the training area to see that they had been practicing hand signs to form their nature jutsus. He had seen Naruto make a fireball from his mouth and was impressed by it. He saw Tenten make a water dragon from the water she had pulled out from the earth. Clapping his hands, Jiraiya nodded at the two, impressed that they had come far. To his misunderstanding, they had explained to him. No sensei, that was just a basic "we can do better" ones, Naruto said, stunning the Toad Sage with his words. Feeling it was a joke, he laughed. Haha, yeah right kid, your jokes aren't funny, he said. Naruto grinned at his laughing, and after calling for his attention, he looked at the blonde whip out a few hand signs. Naruto stated his new jutsu. Fire style. Supreme Dragon Flame Bombs, he shouted. Fierce fire had come from his mouth. It torched a giant line of plants all the way to a nearby hill. Jiraiya had his mouth to the ground as he had tried to process what had happened. The jutsu Naruto did was an upper Junin level jutsu. He turned to face Tenten, who was smirking. Not denying his interest, she whipped out her handsings and said her new jutsu. Water style. Reverse Dragon Wave, she shouted. From the field came a giant water dragon that rammed itself into the field. It turned the burning field into a wet and damp one. Jiraiya was at a loss of words for these two. It took him months to learn just one nature, and here they were learning two each. He couldn't see the end to their potential. They looked at him and with a smirk said something interesting. Jiraiya-sensei, let us show you something else, she said, causing the sage to form a curious look. They smirked and replied, we will show you our love for each other through our nature, they said. He still wondered what they could be planning, though he had a good idea. Holding hands, they said their words with a new STLYE. Twin nature style. Ice Dragon Jutsu, they shouted. As they shouted, more water came from the ground and wind came from nowhere. The wind had frozen the water, but it still moved, forming a beautiful ice dragon that rammed into the field, leaving a giant hole, showing how far hard the ice dragon was. Jiraiya was astounded. They had been able to combine their nature to form another nature. They still weren't done. They were going to show him how much they trained behind his back. Holding hands again, they said their next jutsu. Twin nature style. Fireball Flash. As Naruto shot a fireball from his mouth, Tenten shot a lightning technique through the sky. The lightning hit the fireball, and because of the light, the ball seemed to disappear from view, then came back into view to explode at another hill adjacent to the other one. Next was their individual jutsus. Jiraiya couldn't even come close to comprehending the situation he was seeing. Tenten Steel first. Twin nature style. Instant water dragon jutsu, she shouted. The sky darkened, showing thunder clouds as the water clouds combined with the lightning. An electrified water dragon came roaring out of the clouds. She signaled he had down on the faraway target. The dragon obeyed and hit the ground in less than a second. After the attack was an extremely big crater, then the bottom could not be seen. Jiraiya was too awestruck to comprehend their growth. No student of his had progressed so much. Naruto stood next. He showed his hand signs. Twin nature saintly. Fierce fire spin, he shouted. In combination to his wind chakra, the fire chakra grew to an enormous height that seemed to break the sky in two. It was a more powerful and fire-elemented jutsu, similar to the second Hokage's water wall jutsu. As the fire settled down, Jiraiya realized that these two didn't have the potential to be the greatest ninja. In 2 years they would be the greatest ninja. They had performed not only their own jutsu, but these jutsu were easily above Junin level jutsu. Why, you guys are incredible, he said. They blushed at his comment. It is because of my love for Ten-chan that it worked, Naruto said. It is because of my love for Naruto-kun that it worked, Tenten said. Their connection to each other was probably the strongest connection between a girl and boy. They had put so much trust in each other that even at times their breathing was the same. They could tell what the other was thinking without talking to each other. Not that they didn't enjoy talking to each other, but their connection was at a new high. Nothing could break this trust. They had trusted 100% of their lives to the other, knowing the other would not betray them. Naruto-kun, the brunette said. Yes, Ten-chan, he said to her. It was a hot day in Konoha. Everyone was going about their business as usual. The marketing and shops were all open and people were happily living out their lives. A chunin wearing all pink had come down to the market to check on progress. Okay, everything seems to be in order here, the PNK Kunoichi said as she walked down the road. The chunin exams were held last year for the genin again. She and the rest of the 9 rookies made chunin, with the exception of the male Hyuga who made junin. Walking down remembering the past, Sakura had bumped into 2 of her friends who were on a casual walk. Hey Hinata, hey Neji, she shouted at them. It was a rarity to see the 2 Hyuga together. Neji had been much kinder to Hinata after his realization after the chunin exam with Naruto. Oh hello Sakura, how do you do? Said the 2 Hyugas. As she ran up towards them, they all were thinking about the different missions that they would be going on in a few weeks. They all had been requesting to be put on missions for so long that Tsunade's patience was wearing thin. As the 3 were chatting, they soon saw the rest of their teammates. Wow, everyone is here. Why is everyone here at this time? Sakura asked in confusion. Everyone was shocked to know that Sakura had forgotten what day it was. Everyone looked at her with a disappointed face. Wow Sakura, that is cold, said Lee. I can't believe you don't know what today is, Kiba said with a bark from his no longer small dog, Akamaru. Or even capable of compassion. Shino stated much to her dismay. This is why women's minds are so troublesome, the lazy genius stated. Even I remember what today is, the rival of the pink Kunoichi stated. Having a growing rage at the barrage of insults that kept coming at her, Sakura was nearing the end of her rope. She really didn't know what was so special about today. It seemed just like any other day. She had noticed that everyone had walked past her in disappointment. Running after them, she stopped them with an angry smile that everyone knew meant trouble. Will you just tell me what today is? She shouted, causing everyone to jump back in fright. Everyone was too scared to answer her. They knew she was a student of the 5th and as such she had a very powerful left hook, though she wasn't leaf-handed. Snapping out of the fright that startled them, Shikamaru stepped forward to answer as everyone except Neji and Shino hid behind Shikamaru. Man, how troublesome. You really don't know what today is? He asked, still shocked she didn't. Almost losing all her patience, she mustered up a pretty but deadly smile. No Shika. I don't know, now tell me, she asked with a hint of demon in her voice. Shikamaru was still scared by her, but persevered as everyone took a giant step back, leaving him all alone. Sigh, that is a shame Sakura, we are going to the front gate to meet Naruto and Tenten, he said. Sakura was at a loss for words. She couldn't believe she forgot the day they were coming back. Feeling depressed, she curled up into a corner and poked at some weeds. What is wrong with me? How could I forget that? Of all things, how could that be forgotten? She said with too much depression in her voice. Everyone came back to where Shikamaru was standing. He gave them all a questionable grin. Thank you for having my back, guys, he said with a groan. Feeling embarrassed over what happened, they apologized, only want to live long enough to see Naruto and Tenten. Sakura, still in her corner, was consoled by Hinata into getting up to go see them. They all got up and left. As they all walked, they noticed a number of the citizens of Konoha were coming too. Everyone had missed their blonde troublemaker and brunette weapons expert. After 14 minutes at the front gate, everyone saw 3 figures come into view. As the figures came into view, everyone began to get excited at the people who were coming. First was the Toad Sage, who was happy to be back in his village. He came up to the front gate. He had gathered everyone's attention. People, Here come the two of our Naruto and Tenten, he shouted so everyone could hear. As the couple came into view, everyone was shocked by what they saw. Their eyes were wide and their mouths dropped to the ground. They saw a more muscular Naruto in an orange and black jumpsuit carrying his lover bridal style to get a reaction from the crowd. Everyone was jumping for joy that the two could make an entrance like that. As Naruto set her down, she performed the next thing they practiced for their entrance. Tenten made a few hand signs and grabbed her lover. They were a good 32 feet from the crowd. Suddenly the sky darkened and thunder clouds appeared. The lighting had dropped down on the two lovers as they went into the sky and shot down right in front of the crowd. Everyone was shocked by the sight. They had come up to the crowd with wide smiles. "Everyone, we are back!" they shouted as the crowd cheered. Everyone had missed the couple that used to roam the streets. Naruto was now taller than Tenten, but Tenten got pretty tall too. As the most of the crowd dispersed, mostly because they only stopped to greet the returnees and had major work that needed to be done. Only the rookie 9 and a few Junin remained. "Well, that was quite the entrance, you two," Kakashi spoke looking at his Ika book. "You guys are so troublesome," said the lazy genius, though being impressed with the entrance. "Awesome entrance, you guys," said Choji, Lee, and Kiba, all excited. Everyone was talking with many questions about the two. Most came from Ino, who had a rather interesting question to ask, again. "So how far have you gone since you were away?" she asked, causing everyone to get thrown back. "You have seen them for 2 years and you had to ask that?" Shikamaru said, groaning at the question. Kurenai looked at Ino. "Now Ino, that is a private. We went all the way and I loved it," Tenten said, interrupting the Genjutsu Junin as everyone hit the ground. "Www, what did you say?" asked a blushing Hinata, who then fainted from the images that had entered her mind. "You can't be serious. Oh my goodness, wow, I didn't need to know that. That is youth for you," shouted the various comments that had come for the intensely blushed rookie genin ninja. Tenten continued to shock them. "That's right, he was great," she said, sending more chills up their spines. "Ah, no more images," they all protested. Knowing she shocked them enough, she did one last thing to them. "In Naruto-kun mine, so everyone is to back off him," she said, wrapping her hands around him and giving him a kiss on the cheek. Everyone totally lost in got a variety of nosebleeds. Even Neji couldn't keep his composure. Deciding the torment was enough, they both smirked and stopped to start a regular conversation. "So how is everyone?" Naruto asked. Everyone got up to answer, wiping their noses of the blood that came out. "We are all good here, man, although Sakura was the one who forgot you guys were returning," Kiba announced. Feeling depressed, Sakura drew back into a corner, nudging at some weeds. "I'm sorry," she said in a depressed tone. Seeing that the conversation would have to continue at a later time, Tsunade made her announcement. "Okay, Eveon, these two need to come with us," she said. Everyone was a little depressed they had to go, but everyone would continue their talk later. Naruto and Tenten went with Tsunade back to the Hokage mansion. "So did you guys get any stronger?" she asked with a grin. Feeling insulted, they replied in unison. "Of course we got stronger, we weren't playing around," they said. Feeling she set off a landmine, she tried to continue. "I would like to test out this power of yours, show me how much you have improved," she said. Both feeling excited to have a match again, they quickly agreed. "So who is the opponent?" Tenten asked. "That would be me," said the copy ninja. "Wow, now that will be fun to do," Naruto said with enthusiasm. Kakashi stopped him before he got too hyper. "We will do this in the evening, I want you to be prepared," he said as he ran off. Dismissing themselves, the couple left with Tenten in Naruto's arms. This left only Tsunade and Jiraiya in the room. So honestly tell me Jiraiya, how strong are these two? She asked with a serious look. He looked at her with a grin as he headed for the door. You will have to see this evening, he said, making her groan in disappointment. He turned to her before leaving.